Orita's Cross Freedom School, the genesis of it, was established in April 2012, during spring break week, in fact, when I, along with partners and friends from American Friends Service Committee and the Friend of a Friend Coalition, came together to see if we could do something constructive with those 5 days that Baltimore City public schools are closed. I grew up in a family where some of the elders would say things like, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. And so they would always work to give us something beneficial to do, even during quote unquote break and downtime. And so in April of 2012, along with our partners, what we decided to do was to spend lunch time together in intergenerational gatherings of elders and students to discuss and study issues that we were fairly confident were not being covered in the public school system. And so, for example, we spoke about the prison industrial complex. We spoke about the condition of sisters and brothers who are coming home from prison and what the issues are that they face. We talked about what it would mean for us to have healthy, holistic communities as well. And we would just spend 2 hours during the lunchtime talking, learning from one another in a circle. There's no one expert. We recognize that everybody in the circle brought a unique truth and expertise that contributed to the whole. That experience was so powerful that we endeavored to continue it on in the years following. And what came about eventually was Orita's Cross Freedom School. Orita is a West African Yoruba word, which means crossroads or where the ways come together. And I think it speaks very much so to what kind of school Orita's Cross Freedom School is. Still, we come together during spring break week, and then also we added a feature a few years back where we also open when public school is closed. And so on professional development days or scheduled days when the school system is closed, Freedom School is open. And we come together not for 2 hours anymore. Now we come together to a pretty good chunk of the day, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We come together with workshops. We come together in learning opportunities to, again, give young people in particular now just experience learning and doing in ways that they just don't do anymore in public school. So for example, in Orita's Cross Freedom School, we start the day by honoring our ancestors. We have an ancestor altar, and we have pictures of our ancestors from all over the world that are on our ancestor altar. And every single morning, we start the day by pouring libation, pouring water into a plant, and calling the names of those who came before us. It's a very powerful way to start the day, and it really sets the tone for our school. In fact, I'm thinking about a situation where one of the young people in one of our sessions was having a conversation with one of his peers, and that young person said a curse word. And the friend said, "Hey, you can't say that kind of word here. The ancestors are watching us." And his friend apologized for speaking that word. That's the power of starting the day in remembrance and in connection with the spiritual energy and memory of those who come before us. United, U stands for Universal Negro Improvement Association. And there is a flag that Marcus Garvey helped to make popular all over the world. And after we pour libation to our ancestors and really just celebrate those who've come before, we break out into workshops. And recently we had, in our spring break week, we had workshops that really, I was just so excited that our team was able to pull together. We had workshops on barbering.
You know, it's a communication thing. So it's like you gotta communicate back and forth until you figure out what it is that person wants. And then if you don't get what they want, they probably won't come back to you.
And talking about the historical significance of barbering and hair care in the Black community. We had workshops on real estate development. Yes, we had teenagers sitting around the table talking to real estate professionals about how to buy property. Thinking about, even now in high school, thinking about buying property, not having to wait until much later in life, but thinking about ways to own land, which has always been a source of empowerment for the black community.
But now, if you want to invest and become an owner of Nike, then we can talk about the stock market. Are you guys familiar with the stock market?
Yes.
Right? So that's where you can actually go and you can buy shares of a company and become part owner of a company, right?
We've had workshops on dance. In fact, one of our most popular workshops is African dance. And to see our young men and women in these African dance classes is a really powerful thing. To see them getting connected, not just to the moves, but to the stories behind the moves. Why did our ancestors dance like this?
All the way across. Say
brush. Brush.
brush. Hold on, we doing a brush all the way across the floor. Let's see if arms up. 5, 6, 7, 8.
There's a power, there's a spiritual energy in our movement. And so we're so thankful for that class to have happened as well, and so many more. From studying the Black Political Convention in Gary, Indiana in 1972, to coming together to study herbalism, like reminding our young people that before there was a Rite Aid or a CVS or a pharmacy on every corner or virtually every corner in our community, African people found ways to heal themselves based on their relationship with nature. And so we had young people making fire cider recently. Before that, they made elderberry syrup. They're getting reconnected to the ways that their grandparents and great-grandparents healed themselves and helped to heal others as well.
In Indian cooking starts with a T. You guys have probably all eaten this.
No. Tamarind.
Yes.
Tamarind.
Now somebody might ask, why go through this? Why create safe space for black youth to get reconnected to African history, African heritage, black history? Why even go through all of it? Well, many of us know that getting 28 days of black history once per school year is nowhere near enough to help to give the racial pride and self-esteem to a young person who is hungry for it. I remember when I stepped foot on the campus of Morgan State University as an 18-year-old ready to start my college career, I remember the feeling of frustration I felt when teachers and professors would share information with me about my history that I'd never heard from through K through 12 education. How in the world did I go from kindergarten through 12th grade and not hear about so much about my own people? Now, granted, I heard about Dr. King all the time, heard about Rosa Parks all the time, but that's pretty much it in terms of what went for black history education when I was coming through public school.
The griot stories, they get passed down from ancestor to ancestor to ancestor, and they pass it down. They tell these stories from generation to generation to generation. So this story was told to me, and I took it as true. You all don't think it's true?
I think it's
Who we've been as a people, who we are right now, and where we are going, it's a great disservice. To have black youth graduate and can tell you everything about King Louis XV, or George Washington, or Abraham Lincoln, or Thomas Jefferson, Western and European heroes and sheroes, but can't tell you much of anything about their own people, that's more than a disservice. It's a crime against the soul of our young people. And so Orita's Cross Freedom School serves to fill that gap. We think it's important that young black youth know about their history and their heritage, and I'm so glad that research is coming out to support that. The University of Pittsburgh and others have put out research recently that says that when black youth have a greater appreciation for their history and higher degrees of racial pride, that it has positive impact on their academic progress and their behavior in the classroom.
A fight for what's right, and we try to find the light. But then the cries are hushed by the dreams crushed and mushed when we are ambushed. Don't just sit there and cry and think about why they passed by. You need to spread your wings to fly. Leanna.
What the research is saying is what we've always known in our gut. You teach a black girl or a black boy who they are and where they fit in the grand scheme of history, and it helps them to stand taller. It helps them to be more proud of themselves, and it improves their ability to interact positively with those outside of their community. Love yourself first, and it helps you to better love others, appreciate and negotiate with others, even politically, economically, and socially, once they leave the classroom. Orita's Cross Freedom School is all about that. It's about creating safe space to celebrate who God made us to be, that our beautiful melanin in our skin is not an accident. It's a part of the divine will of God, that I be the shade that I am, and that our brothers and sisters who are coming up celebrate. They need to celebrate that as well. And I'm thankful for this program and doing that.